welcome to the dark side of BEASTwriter. I am your host, Ryan Sakamoto, and today we are going to be breaking down news that Josh Jacobs was slapped with a non-exclusive franchise tag. I'm going to talk about the difference between the exclusive and the non-exclusive franchise tag. There's people on Twitter trying to call me out. Like, this is my 9 to 5. Please don't try to call me out. And then the funny thing about this story is once I said that he was slapped with a non-exclusive franchise tag, and one of my followers said, no, you're wrong because he can't negotiate with anyone else because he was slapped with the exclusive franchise. I was like, no, he was slapped with a non-exclusive franchise tag. And then he tried to go out and say and prove his point, even though he was still wrong. And then I just, if anytime someone's wrong, I'm not right 100% of the time, but at the end of the day, that's my job. So to get it right. So I just told him politely and professionally, hey, look, kind of seems like you're wrong on this one. And then he blocked me. Wasn't trying to call him out. He was the ones that are trying to call me out. I'm just trying to do my work. And so here we are today. So I just want to clear the air. He was slapped with a non-exclusive franchise tag, which means he's going to be valued at 10.1 million APY for the upcoming season because that is the franchise tag for non-exclusive players at the running back position. Now, the case remains to be seen. Will he sign that franchise tag tender? Because he has, and the Las Vegas Raiders have until July 15th. That's the deadline for them to negotiate a long-term deal before he's slapped with that official franchise tender where he either signs or he can hold out. We don't know what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, Josh Jacobs is in fact under contract, seemingly, right? Because he got franchise tagged for the upcoming 2023 season. Now, it remains to be seen how this is going to play out long term, but we're going to go ahead and talk about that as we delve into this podcast. But yeah, there's a lot of discrepancies on the exclusive versus not. Look, trust, and you'll be better for it. Just calling it how I see it. Anyways, let's get right into it. Who is running back Josh Jacobs? Now, for those who don't know, I like to break down all my live streams and podcasts and static videos into 3 parameters. The first one is who are the players or coaches involved? The second parameter is why the move was made, or in this case, obviously, potentially could be made. And the last but not least parameter is the instant gratification versus long-term gains, right? So there's a lot of different parameters that go into each decision that a GM makes, and we're going to go ahead and break that down for you. All right, so let's get that ticker up for you. Who is running back Josh Jacobs, right? Who is Josh Jacobs, and what does he bring to the table, and why are the Las Vegas Raiders feeling so highly of Josh Jacobs and what he brings to the table? Well, come on. It's Josh Jacobs. It's JJ. He is the best running back in the entire NFL, hands down. Now, is it the Raider way to go ahead and extend a positional need that they don't value as highly as some of these other skill player positions? Hey, just calling it how I see it. And what did I say back in July? For those who followed me, right? If you guys followed me back in July from Raiders headquarters in Henderson, Nevada, what did I say? When they declined his 5th-year option, what did I say? I said Josh Jacobs is going to be baking on himself. He's going to outplay this contract and potentially outplay his way in Las Vegas because he's going to be an MVP candidate at the end of the year. People looked at me. They laughed at me. Oh, this is your first year cover. Nah, man, I've been covering all 32 for a very long time. Trust. The Beast receipts check out, and here we are today. I will even go and repost that in the description box below so you guys can relive and rewatch what I had to say in real time and cross-check that into hindsight here on March 8th. I'm just letting you guys know what's up. Hey, holla at your boy. But here we are today, right? So who is Josh Jacobs? Well, he was a 2019 first-round pick drafted number 24 by the Las Vegas Raiders. And as you guys know, if you guys follow me on Twitter, if you guys follow me over the years, you know I predicted the Raiders to draft Josh Jacobs at number 24. And here we are today. Another big receipt checks out. But Roll Tide, Roll Fan, Josh Jacobs is the real deal. He was one of 7 players, mind you, one of 7 players in NFL history to rack up 1,200 scrimmage yards and also rush for 7+ touchdowns in his first 4 years. Let that settle in. Only one of 7 players in NFL history to do this. That's a milestone. That's only a handful of people that have done that in the whole existence of the NFL. Do you know who the other 6 players are? Let me go ahead and break it down to you who those other 6 players are. All right. Earl Campbell, Eric Dickerson, let me see if I can do it off the top of my head. Barry Sanders, LaDainian Tomlinson, Adrian Peterson, and Terrell Davis. All right. So that's 6. Josh Jacobs is number 7. All right. He had a hell of a year this year. I don't know about you guys, but whatever. And GM Dave Ziegler going into the year thought it was best to decline his 5th year option because he's not a Dave Ziegler guy, right? He came in under Mike Mayock, obviously, and John Gruden. And so here comes GM Dave Ziegler, and he's like, you know what? Like, we're going to decline your 5th year option. And then Josh Jacobs says, you know what? Okay, cool. Everything else will take care of itself. I'm going to put in the work, put my head down, and just keep grinding. That's what he did. And as a true professional, let me just tell you, as a true professional, what Josh Jacobs brings to the table, not just on the field, right? We see everything on the field, but from a beat writer standpoint, from an insider perspective, I'm going to tell you what he brings off the field. He's a great community guy, great leader. In that locker room, I can tell you firsthand, when the camera's off, people love Josh Jacobs. So it's not like they're just putting on the front. No, everyone from the top down loves Josh Jacobs. Everybody loves Josh Jacobs. When I talked about it with Coach Lombardi, he says he's his favorite player, right? And Coach McDaniels, what did he label him as? A football player. And what I say in training camp, the one, I guess, word that you would describe a player who is basically a player that you want on your team, and that is a football player. Going back to the Jim Harbaugh days, he would label guys as football players. Not a puncher, not a kicker, not a running back, a football player. No better or bigger compliment. And I said that on Twitter before even Coach McDaniels echoed that same analysis in describing Josh Jacobs' game and what he brings to the table. So you guys know what Josh Jacobs brings to the table. I know for a fact that they stress ball security, right? Ball security is job security, all right, with the Las Vegas Raider way. So he only fumbled, I believe it was 5 times in his first 3 seasons, which is not a good sample size to pull from because it's only been 3 years. But 5 times in 3 years, wow. I'd take that any day of the week. That's, if you do the math and you double down on that, that's what, 10 fumbles in 6 years. So I can live with that. And he definitely took a step forward, right? I think we all see this. He took a step forward in his game, his work ethic, his drive. It's unquestioned, work ethic, drive. No, but he also embodies the Raider way, right? And what does that culture identity look like? Both on and off the football field, in the community. How is he liked? Is he the first one in, one of the last ones out? Like, these are cliche things, but at the end of the day, he embodies all those things. Right. And his production on the field speaks volumes for himself. So you cannot say that Josh Jacobs doesn't embody everything that Coach McDaniels, GM Dave Ziegler want. I think they want to bring him back. We're going to talk about why there could be a contract snag, and that's why they had to franchise tag him. It's going to get interesting, guys. It's going to get interesting. But what did GM Dave Ziegler say? If Josh continues to do what he's doing, things will take care of themselves. And at the end of 2022, what happened? Definitely took care of himself. So let's go ahead and talk about it. By the numbers, right? By the numbers. You guys have been waiting for this. The proof is in the pudding. I always say that. And the film never lies. But let's talk about the numbers, right? So by the numbers, he was first in the NFL in rushing with 1,653 rushing yards. 1,653 rushing yards paced the entire NFL with that offensive line. All right? Just saying. Second of all, he had 97 first downs, which is first in the NFL. Sorry, not 97 first downs, 97.2 yards rushing per game, which is ranked first in the NFL. So he averaged 97.2 yards per game rushing. That was ranked first in the NFL. He also had 93 first downs, which ranked first in the NFL. So he's number one in all these I guess you could say the best rushing statistical categories: rushing yards per game, efficiency, first downs, obviously move the sticks, move the chains. Let's do it. He ranked number one in that, led all running backs in that with 93. All right. He also had 12 rushing touchdowns, which ranked tied for 5th in the NFL. And he had 2,053 scrimmage yards, which ranked first in the NFL. So if you embody what Josh Jacobs brings to the table and you're his agent, and you're talking to GM Dave Ziegler, hey, look, we want the contract. We don't want to be slapped with the franchise tag, bro. We don't want 10.1 million because we know he's valued more than that. He's valued more than 10.1 million. I'm going to talk about this in a little bit. Just calling it how I see it. That's my evaluation on Josh Jacobs when I grade the snap, not the box score. All right. So what does Josh Jacobs bring to the table, right? His skill set. Let's talk about that, right? He has very strong vision. He's a power run guy. He has elite contact balance. I think these are all things that we see. Unquestioned lateral agility, dual threat coming out of the flat. These are things that we see in this game on any given play, right? And the ball security is not an issue for him, right? He has great ball security as he has less than a 1% fumble ratio since entering the league. So 25 years young and a running back who has tread on his tires, but then again, he's 25 years young. Why not resign the guy to a second deal? A front-loaded second-year contract, because as we know in the NFL, been doing this for a while, anytime you prove your worth in the contract year, that second deal that you get, that second contract, that's going to be front-loaded unless you're banking on production or potential, which we are not. We already see what Josh Jacobs brings to the table in his first 4 years in the NFL. Just saying it. You know, when these guys, some of the other guys get these second contracts, it's because you're banking on his potential so you can backload a little bit and you have some leverage there. Not with Josh Jacobs. You can't leverage anything. You have no leverage when it comes to backloading a contract with Josh Jacobs. He is what he is. So pay him. Pay the man, whether it be in Las Vegas or somewhere else. All right. So here we go. All right. So why was the move made? Just put up the ticker up. Why did the Las Vegas Raiders franchise tag Josh Jacobs? Well, like I said, probably because he wanted a front-loaded deal. What does that mean? Front-loaded deal as opposed to a back-ended deal means guaranteed money plus years on the contract. So if I'm going into it my second contract, and I'm Josh Jacobs, hypothetically, and saying, hey, look, BEASTwriter would be putting out these numbers. Numbers don't lie. Either does film. I want to be paid at least top 5 money. 10.1 million APY is not top 5 running back money. I'm telling you right now, it's not. Let me tell you why. We're going to peel back layers of the onion to really get to the core, as we always like to say here in the DOB. All right. JJ banked on himself. Let's not forget, JJ banked on himself in 2022. The move paid huge dividends for him now in 2023. All right. First team All-Pro. The ball is now in Las Vegas Raiders court to go ahead and make a play. The valuation versus evaluation on signing a guy like Josh Jacobs, it's already there. Everything's there for you. Sign the Roll Tide Roll product. I'm in favor of it. I know some of you guys are, oh, no, we don't need to sign Josh Jacobs to a top 5 money contract deal. But hey, let me tell you something. Back in November, when I took a poll with you guys on Twitter, 93.7% said he was worth top 10 money, if not top 5 money. So if I was to do and run another poll on Twitter, I guarantee you guys would say the same exact thing. In fact, that number may be inflated because it's a scary thought when you think about life without Josh Jacobs, isn't it? Isn't it? Yikes. I love Zeus White. He can be the future, but we don't know yet. Again, you're banking on his potential rather than production. The 2 P's that I like to talk about, production and potential. Potential don't mean much if you don't live up to the hype. But then again, what sample size do we pull from Zeus White? Because he hasn't had that sample size enough to gauge whether or not he can get it done. And I'm not saying he can't. I think Zeus White was going to be one heck of a running back. I think he has Pro Bowl potential. All right. But again, that potential doesn't mean much because, again, who do we have there? We have Josh Jacobs. If you go from Josh Jacobs to Zeus White, you're banking on a lot. All right. And I'm pretty sure Devontae Adams wants Josh Jacobs to return. I'm pretty sure Max Crosby wants Josh Jacobs to return. All the team captains want Josh Jacobs to return, including Josh Jacobs, who ended up being a team captain midway through the year. So what does that say about Josh Jacobs? Resign Josh Jacobs. I know it's not a highly prized positional grade, if you will, because it's a running back and you can find running backs in later rounds and you can kind of squeeze them into the system. And so it's Josh Jacobs. They don't grow on trees. Let's not go and make the same mistake with a DeForest Buckner that GM John Lynch did. All right. He had a choice to make. John Lynch had a choice. And I said, once that trade was made, what I say in real time, that's going to be one of the worst decisions the San Francisco 49ers have ever made in their franchise's history. Oh, no, we got Javon Kinlaw. We got Eric on. I said, look, just calling it how I see it. How's it looking today? Life without DeForest Buckner is a scary thought. Wasn't so scary at the time, was it? Until I pointed it out and I said it was going to be scary. 3-4 years later, scary. Scary thought. Scary thought. But hey, do what you want, do what you will. Not my money. I'm just pointing out some factual information and based on my valuation versus evaluation on Josh Jacobs. Look, he is a man among boys. All right. So I'm 90% confident a deal is going to get done. 90% confident rate is high for me. All right. But I think a long-term deal will get done if they somewhat meet within the parameters of what Josh Jacobs wants. And this is what I think. This is just me talking out loud. I don't have any insider information on this, but this running the numbers, I'm pretty good at this. You guys know how I did with Hunter Renfro's numbers in his future contract. And I said what he was valued at, and he got exactly what I said he was going to be valued at. So same thing applies here. Josh, this is fun. This is great. This is great. This is fun. Been doing this for years. Anyways, let's go ahead and peel back layers on the onion to really get to the core. I'm fairly confident that Josh Jacobs wants a contract in the ballpark of 12.5 to 15 million APY. He doesn't want to be the highest paid running back. Maybe he does. But if he was to be the highest paid running back, those bragging rights go to San Francisco 49ers running back Christian McCaffrey. All right, at 60 million APY. So if you look at it for what it really is, and if you're trying to say, okay, we can kind of meet in the middle, Josh Jacobs and GM Dave Ziegler, I think it's somewhere in the ballpark of 12.5 to 15 million APY, not 10.1 million APY that he's franchise tendered at. All right. Why do I say that? Well, look at the numbers. Grade the snap, not the box score. Who is making 12.5 or around that, 12.2 to 12.5 million APY? You look at guys like Roll Tide, Roll Product running back Derrick Henry. You look at guys like Dalvin Cook. You look at guys around the league, say Nick Chubb, the Georgia product, top 5 running back in my grading system, year in and year out. But then he also has Joel Bitonio blocking for him. He also has Wyatt Tiller blocking for him. He also has right tackle Jock Conklin blocking for him. I'm saying those are 3 all-pros. How many do the Raiders have? I'm not throwing shade at the Raiders. I love the Raiders offensive line. Great people. Some of them have potential to be Pro Bowl players like Dylan Parham, who I really, really like Colton Miller, of course. But they need more. And Josh Jacobs did more with less than Nick Chubb did. Let's not get it twisted. Let's not get it twisted. So you look at the 12.5 to 15 million APY, and that's kind of where you're going at, right? Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, they all make around 12.5 million APY. That 15 million, that's where you're talking about Ezekiel Elliott and Alvin Kamara money. All right. So if you were a GM, do you think that Josh Jacobs is better than Ezekiel Elliott? Heck yes. Do you think he's better than Alvin Kamara? Depending on the scheme fit, possibly yes. So that's where that 15 million APY comes in. I don't think he's going to leapfrog and be the highest paid running back in the NFL because I just think 16 million APY for a running back is, 15 to 16 is only 1 million difference, right? So it's just basically bragging rights at this point. But at the end of the day, it's like you have to pay Josh Jacobs. Like you cannot go into a season without Josh Jacobs. Now, the Raiders protected themselves. I tweeted this out. I said they protected themselves, right? Because at the end of the day, what happens, right? The instant gratification versus long-term gains of life with Jacobs or life without Josh Jacobs. Let me put the ticker up there. All right. So again, the franchise tag is worth 10.1 million, which is top 5 running back money for the 2023 season. And if Josh Jacobs was to negotiate with another team, which he can because he was slapped with a non-exclusive franchise tag, then ultimately that team would have to yield 2 round 1 picks or negotiated compensation. See the D4 trade back in 2019 with the San Francisco 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs when they're transitioning from a 4-3 to a 3-4 and a 3-4 to a 4-3 for vice versa of the teams. So ultimately, it can be 2 first-round picks, but does it have to be? That remains to be seen. So that's the difference between non-exclusive and as opposed to exclusive franchise tag, where if you were slapped with an exclusive franchise tag, you cannot negotiate with another team. You can only negotiate with that one team. So in a sense, you either hold out at the end of training camp, whatever, or you sign the tender and just play on that 1-year tender because odds are they're not going to franchise tag you a second year. See Orlando Brown Jr. with the Kansas City Chiefs, who they traded with the Baltimore Ravens. I can't believe that they didn't go into it thinking that they were going to make a deal. Just saying. But hey, OBJ, not talking about the wide receiver, I'm talking about the offensive tackle. He said, man, I want Ronnie Stanley money, GM Eric DeCosta. That's what he said. And Eric DeCosta says, nope, I'm going to ship you out because we already got our blindside left tackle. And so here we are. Now GM Brett Veach is kind of sitting there thinking like, oh man, what are we going to do now? We're not going to franchise tag him again, right? I think it's been reported that they're not going to do it. No, that they weren't going to do it. So it's going to be interesting. So how this plays out with Orlando Brown Jr. Because if I'm looking at this logically, Orlando Brown Jr. I'm just going to go back. I got to type this in now because and I did this compensation on the trade valuation of that once the trade was made from Baltimore to Kansas City. Yeah, so it's funny. Brown was traded to the Chiefs along with a second-round pick in the 2021 NFL draft and a sixth-round pick in the 2022 NFL draft in exchange for the Chiefs' first-round pick, third-round pick, fourth-round pick, and a 2022 fifth-round pick. So it's going to be interesting. They already tendered him at $16.7 million last year with a non-exclusive franchise tag, and here he is again. And ultimately, we don't know what's going to happen with Orlando Brown Jr. So is he worth what he's asking for? I mean, let's face it. The guy's a winner. I like Orlando Brown Jr., Oklahoma product. But then who knows what Monty Austinfort's thinking? Does he go after and get a guy, an offensive tackle that can kind of team up with Kyler Murray, who he worked with? Monty Austinfort, by the way, comes from the New England Patriots. I love talking all 32. That's just my thing. I love it. Love talking draft. Love talking all 32. But what are the Arizona Cardinals going to do? I don't know. Whether they're going to get 3. I think they're going to go after Will Anderson. That's just my thinking. Here. But, you never know. They need an offensive tackle. That's for sure. They need an offensive tackle. I don't think that this offensive tackle class is weak. So you're not going to find a highly prized offensive tackle in this year's 2023 free agent class. I'm just saying that's why I think the draft is more valuable when it comes to certain positions because, again, you have to do that. You have to test the valuation versus evaluation on not just the guys coming out of college, right, the NFL hopefuls, but then also what's already out there in the league. And then look at the strengths and weaknesses and how they fit their system and how they would fit in your scheme. Not just in your scheme, but how would you actually use them? Is this a run blocking guy? Is this a power block guy? Is this a zone blocking guy? Like, what type of guys are you looking for? Is he a scheme fit? What does he do well? What doesn't do well? And can we concentrate on what he doesn't, not necessarily what he doesn't do well, but focus on his strengths, what he does well. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Anyways, I think this is going to wrap up this live stream. Podcast is not really a live stream. It's a static video, but I hope you guys like this static video here when it comes to Josh Jacobs being slapped with the franchise tag, what it means for the Las Vegas Raiders moving forward, and exactly what's the holdup. In my estimation, no word on that, no official word on this. This is just my evaluation versus evaluation on exactly what's going on. If I had to make a prediction, all right, which I do. Right. So I think he wants a front loaded deal again. I think he wants years on the contract. And again, he's not banking on potential. He's banking on production. And he already proved himself in the contract year. And I think he's teetering in that 12.5 to 15 million APY because that's in the ballpark of Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cooks, the Derrick Henrys, the Ezekiel Elliott's, and the Alvin Kamara's of the league. So when you put that all together, why not? I mean, if all those running backs I just mentioned, he's the best of all those. So best of the bunch. So if you're looking at the cluster of players that we talk about when it comes to draft time, when you trade down, you get a cluster of players that you like. Josh Jacobs is the cream of the crop. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you guys had a lot of fun. I know I had a lot of fun. And again, be sure to smash the like button. Give this video a thumbs up. It will help the YouTube algorithm a lot. It will help push it through. And again, there's also a Super Thanks feature here on YouTube. It's a money icon that you can kind of a money icon and a heart icon for the Super Thanks. And you guys can go ahead and donate there to the channel if you guys like the work and like the Dark Side of BEASTwriter movement we're striving for. So again, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Have a good night. I will be back on tomorrow discussing the quarterback situation as you guys all asking for my thoughts on the Lamar Jackson stuff. You guys are asking me who is the best quarterback in the 2023 NFL draft class. What's going to happen with Jimmy Garoppolo? You guys know I brought that up to the forefront. So a lot of things to talk about, a lot of different parameters. And one thing is for sure, Derek Carr is now off to the New Orleans Saints, which who predicted? This guy, as he wanted a dome team. Check off the Beast receipt. Stay tuned for tomorrow. I'll keep it hot. I hope you guys keep it hot. Take care for now. BEASTwriter out.